What's going on, guys? Welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. I just realized I was almost out of refreshment, so I thought I'd crack one open to wake you guys up. How you guys doing? Happy Friday. I forgot to put on my cap. This thing is all crusty. How you guys doing? This thing, look at that. As you can tell, I have a new office. We sold our property. That's closing next week. We're in a rental property, and then we'll be moving to our home December. Exciting thing is my home is going to have a completely furnished filming basement. So I'm going to be doing videos of my of my sexy self from the basement, right? Yeah, that'll be exciting, won't it? Right? But yeah, I'll be able to do training videos and stuff like that. We've been moving literally for the last 10 days, and this is all from moving. That's some serious electrolyte action going on. So I was giving my cranium a break. So how you guys like the new fancy studio? I went all out and put the Massive Iron banner up there. Anyway, welcome to Massive Iron Live, guys. I appreciate you joining me. As always, I'm here every Friday at 11 Eastern. And I'm here to answer your questions. If you're new here, don't be shy. Post your questions up. Don't feel like a question's been asked 1,000 times over. That's what I am here for. I'm here to help. So don't be shy. Post your questions up. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping notes. If your questions don't go through, try shortening them or you can go over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, slide into my DM, and you can see it down there. Slide into my DM and send me your questions. I answer every question sent to me via Instagram. I don't have a staff. I don't have bots, right? I don't have a personal assistant. It's just me, and I love lifting, and I answer every question personally, a lot of times with audio messages. So if your question doesn't go through, try to head over to Instagram and post it up. And, just understand if it still doesn't go through on here on YouTube, that it is not me. Come here, buddy boy. It is not me and my dog's roaming around. It's not me throttling you or anything like that. I don't do that unless somebody is rude, crude, or obnoxious, etc. So how's everybody doing? Right? How's everybody doing? We were, let me get up my little banner here. We're on Team Massive. I'm going to dive into your questions just a second, so hold on. But we were talking at Team Massive, and that is teammassiveiron.com. Come join this morning a little bit about honoring your spouse by taking care of yourself. We always have some interesting conversation going on over there. And today it was pretty interesting for a Friday. I was rambling on a little bit about honoring my wife and what it means when somebody else, commits to you or gives you their life, and, the value of taking care of yourself and honoring that relationship. So all that kind of good stuff. But I'd just like to encourage you guys to head over to teammassiveiron.com, teammassiveiron.com, and consider joining in on the fun. A couple quick things before we get started. If you do not follow me, please follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman, I would love to connect with you. And check out my website, superlivingtoday.com. And I'm going to pull this up real quick. It's been a while since I did this, but I want to show you guys a couple quick things, and then we'll get into the fun. Let me just pull this down, and we'll do a present and screen share application window and share a room. All right, so let me get the wide pop up here. You can see I have a subs tab over here. This is at superlivingtoday.com. And I'm not a supplement company, but I want to let you guys know, if you want to put $5 in my pocket, these are really good products. I have 2 flavors of whey protein, salted caramel and chocolate, and I have creatine. So check that out. The workouts tab if you go just to workouts, you have tools. I have tools up here, which has my 4 main progression approaches, creeping death, and how to warm up. But on the workouts tab, if you look at all, I literally have a ton of workout options here. Over 2 pages. Some of this stuff is free. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. A lot of free stuff over there. So not just stuff for sale. And one thing I want to point out is that I have the Massive Iron Collection, which is 354 pages. And it includes all of this stuff, just tons of content. So check that out. And if you need coaching, there's a coaching tab over there as well. I'm pretty full right now, but I'm going to be expanding my services a little bit, and we'll get into the questions in just a second. But this year, by the end of the year, one of my goals is to put together a Massive Iron certification. So I'm not trying to compete with NASM or anything like that, but I'm going to take the Massive Iron system, my beliefs, my philosophies, and I'm going to try to create a certification or training for other coaches so they can learn programming, so they can learn, program theory, the Massive Iron way. And you can not only help yourself, but you can help others. So that's a big goal for me moving forward. And one thing I'm going to be doing while I do that, I'm not going to get out of coaching one-on-one. That's my main business, right? But I'm going to slowly reduce my client base by about a third this year. And, just so I have more time to put towards this. So don't panic. I'm not kicking anybody out of coaching at all. Not at all. I want to continue to work with the people that are working with me now and that, like working with me. And I have a big host. What do you guys think? Should I keep this up or out? It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't really like having it. We'll just kind of have, hey, we're on Massive Iron. All right, let's dive into things. Before we do, what did Eric say? Stan said, Eric said, did Stein steal your hat? No, we got the hat. We got the hat. Word, what's up? Yo, we still have the hat. All right, let's get into things, guys. And again, a reminder, I'm going to go back to this because I just like doing this. If you post a question before live starts, you get a chance to win a free Massive Iron Whey Creatine t-shirt or hoodie. So, Assassin, happy Friday. Assassin, Stein, welcome to the party. Steve K, appreciate you joining in. Michael, happy Friday. Beyond a straight bar, the bars that serve beer. Beyond a straight bar, the bars that serve beers. What bars do you find useful in training? If somebody had a reasonable amount of money to invest in a home gym, not Donald Trump level, right? Not Elon Musk level, but a few extra bucks beyond a regular bar. Number one would be an easy bar. I like an easy bar just for the variety it adds, the flexibility it adds for arm training. And it's cheap, super inexpensive. And beyond that, I think a safety squat bar and a hex bar would be the two that I would get. For the average home gymmer, just for the average gym, I mean, if a commercial gym doesn't have a hex bar, they really don't have the lower back health of the consumer in mind, or really care about the lower back health of the consumer. So, is a straight bar needed for deadlifting if you want to build a big back? No. So a home gymmer, I would definitely consider a hex bar. They're inexpensive. I believe you can find them for $150. Mine, I believe I found for like $139 on Walmart, right? And I just bought it on a whim, and it's fine, man. It's just fine. I'm not going to tear it up. It works absolutely fine. And a safety squat bar, I think if I had to start all over again, I would always squat with a safety squat bar just to save my elbows and my shoulders wear and tear. And it feels more natural to me. So I would probably get easy bar, safety squat bar, hex bar. And that's really my opinion about all you need. Anything beyond that is just, getting a little bit extravagant. You want to try a different type of bar and you have a little bit extra money. But I would cover your bases with those. Big Steve K. Start a trap bar deads and feels great. Good. What rep range would you recommend? I really don't like going up to 10s on any deads. Usually 5 to 8 rep range is fine. I'd rather have you start with about 3 sets, somewhere in that rep range. If your lower back is handling things well, you could be as high as 10, even maybe 12 if you don't feel taxed from a cardiovascular standpoint. Second, try, I hit 245 for 11. Good. You want to leave 1 or 2 in the tank on any deadlift variation. Planning mostly maintenance on legs with cycling season. Good. When you guys have like you're heavily invested in cycling or running or a sport, and you have kind of a big season. Like for me, I'm going to be doing a 12-hour endurance run in mid-July, so I'm kind of getting in that season where I'm going to be running more. So I'm probably going to be doing legs a little bit less. Yeah, I wish there was a way to reduce the font size of this stuff. Atomic Boxman. How do you know when you should add volume? Don't really need to add volume. Start with a reasonable program and just run the program. I mean, all of my programs are kind of reasonable starting points. I don't go too low. I don't go too high. I start with around 72 sets a week if you're doing 4 workouts, or about 18-ish sets a workout. And there's really no need to add volume. I mean, you literally could stay right there for your entire lifting career and make all the gains you want. So there's really no need to add volume. Now, with that said, if I'm in the gym and I find, let's say your back training day or whatever you're doing, your upper posterior, whatever, you have a little bit extra energy and you're progressing, you're following your progression indicators, and you want to add a set on seated cable rows, go ahead. You want to add a set on pendlay rows, go ahead. You want to add a set on deadlifts, go ahead. If recovery is going well, if your time in gym is going well, if your energy is going well, and if you are progressing, you are following your progression approach, then I wouldn't just add, like, I'm going to add 6 sets per workout day. Do I want to add another exercise? Do I want to add another set to an exercise? But just understand, if you have a reasonable volume already, you really don't need to ever add volume. Big Zachary B. Barker. I'm transitioning to early morning workouts. We got to be careful in 2023 when we read the word transitioning. Just humor, folks. I'm transitioning to early morning workouts. Good luck. They're tough. Lower body days are brutal. Yeah. I have nothing for you, my friend. Every client I've ever had that's tried, I believe every client, probably 99%. There might have been one. Where's my dog? Buddy boy, where you at? Come here. Well, there you are. There might have been one oddball that can handle it well, but me, like, I would love to get up at 5 a.m. and, go work out. But it's tough, man. It's just tough. I don't even feel like, when I do morning workouts, I don't even feel awake till like 10 o'clock. I'll get done. If I would work out at 5:30 or 6, I would get back here to my office and I would still feel in a fog, literally in a fog. So I got nothing for you other than to sit through it And if you don't know what sit fu is, it's suck it the bleep up. But other than that, man, morning workouts are completely sit fu situations. I want to rebuild my squat while getting used to doing them early. I don't know. You want to rebuild your squat. When I'm rebuilding my squat, look, you're in there in the morning, and do you want to be constantly changing weight and doing math while you're rebuilding? I'll probably do straight sets. Like when I rebuilt after my knee injury, when I started rebuilding after my knee injury, I do sets of 5. I started with like 115 because I got a crazy weighted bar that weighs 75 pounds. So I started 75 by 3x5 and then 90. I started at 115 for 3x5 and then 135 by 3x5 and then 155. I slowly did straight sets. And I think if you're rebuilding, probably just do straight sets of like 3x5, 3x6. Don't overwork the rep ranges. You're rebuilding your strength. You're kind of getting your connective tissue back in the game a little bit. So, you can go higher reps if you want. You could even do a drop down set if you want to push yourself a little bit. But I'll probably just keep it simple and continue to push those straight sets until you get to the point where you're like, wow, that was pretty tough. Big Michael N. I'm a teacher and will have the summer off. How can I maximize my training? Let me get a drink here. Thursday is movie night in my household. So, a little sidetrack, and you guys can ask off-track questions if you want. Off-topic questions. We watched the new Scream, and you know what? We actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot better than the last one. Not really a big Scream fan, but I enjoyed the movie. Anyway, Michael, I would probably do a 5-day split or 2 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off, since if you have a fluid schedule. Depending on how your recovery is, you probably want maybe every third day off. Or you could do a 5-day split. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then like a Saturday junk day. I like doing a Saturday junk day because it feels a little bit lighter. You can move a lot of your arm work to Saturday. You can move little foo-foo things like rear delts and abs and calves and all the junk you really don't get excited for during the week. You can move it to like a Saturday junk day. And because you're not doing any big compound movements, you can usually get into the gym earlier. You're not going to feel, you're not going to feel like, oh my God, I have to really be awake for calf raises, right? You can kind of get in and you put on your Kenny G music, your Saturday morning Kenny G music or whatever you listen to, right? And just kind of cruise in. So, I hate to give out generic advice, Michael, but I would probably do a 4-day-a-week split with a 5th day on a Saturday, like a junk day, and rest on Sunday, for the love of God. Rest on hump day, rest on Sunday, something like that. Get in some rest time, break out the grill, enjoy a baseball game, and, just nutrition. If you don't mind being a little bit fluffy during summer, if you're training hard, I would probably take those 3 months and gain 10 pounds. Do slightly more aggressive bulk and get the most out of it you can. And then when, school starts back up, hit a quick mini cut as you're kind of getting into the flow schedule of going back to teaching. That's what I would probably do. And Michael, you need more advice, just hit me up. What's going on? Big poi poi. Did I say that right? Poi poi. Just correct me if I'm wrong. When you say you should do 4+ exercises for each muscle, not 4+. I'll explain. does changing the angle of incline by 20, it can. You want some variation. First off, I don't want to confuse anybody. Typically in the massive iron system, and this is not the way everybody has to do it, but this is a starting point. I do about 12 working sets per what I consider functionally major muscle groups, right? Or major focus groups: chest, back, shoulders, and quads. So we do about 4 exercises of 3 sets. You can work in some exercise variety by doing like squats one day, 1 week, front squats the next week, hack squats 1 week, leg presses the next week. So you can rotate in some variations. So that's where the plus comes. Okay. But yeah, certainly if it's a reasonable variation, a little bit of incline difference is going to hit everything a little bit differently. It's going to hit your chest. You're going to hit your front delts, your rear delts, your side delts, your triceps a little bit differently. So that's perfectly okay. You don't want to go super incline, generally, I don't know, on a chest press. There's no downside, but once you go from a normal incline of like 20, 25 degrees to like 70 degrees on a seated incline, if you want to go between that, I would probably think that's not, the best idea. Not that it's a bad idea. Without any caffeine pre-workout, if you're tired and you have to train today, should you train? I'm tired a lot. Watch yesterday's video. I don't think when you're tired, you can't use it frequently as an excuse not to train. Maybe once a month, right? But if you're like once a week, I'm too tired to train, you probably need to gird things up a little bit more, in the testicular fortitude area. Hey, buddy boy, come here. Come here, buddy boy. Come here, buddy boy. You want to say hi? Come here, buddy boy. This is my boy. Hey, buddy boy. What's going on, buddy boy? You're an international superstar. So if you feel like you need to take off, I'm getting a bath more than once a week from being tired, you probably need to, kick yourself, punch back a little bit harder. So, it's not like the caffeine or pre-workout is going to be the linchpin that's going to make the difference. I mean, it certainly can help. But what I typically do is I try to go in and just do the first set. Like when I'm super tired, I tell myself, just get your sorry ass in the gym and try to do the first working set, right? Try to do the first working set. And then from there, the bar's already loaded. You're usually just kind of sitting there, feeling a little bit, dazed. From there, you can usually do the second set, third set, and by then you have enough momentum, to get through the training session. If you're super tired, though, one thing you could do is do 2 sets for the major movements. So maybe once a week, you could play the really tired card where you could do 2 sets for every major movement, and then maybe even 1 for the minors if you're just zapped. How much exercise variation do you need to overcome the body? Your body's not gonna. This is a non-question. I'm not laughing at you. This is way into the overthinking zone. When people like Team 3D Alpha talk about how, that's a different question. I thought it was the same one. The biological, there's other issues here. Number one, if you just do a limited amount of movements, you're going to lose some of the impact that inherently comes from variation. So we want a reasonable exercise variation, right? We're not specifically trying to overcome the biological law of accommodation. I mean, if you push yourself smartly, there's going to be with progressive overload, there's going to be you're not going to acclimate, to anything. but you don't want to overwork the same movement patterns, and there's inherent benefits in working in exercise variations, because if you do squats, they're not going to hit you the same way as leg presses, as hack squats, as pendulum squats, as leverage squats, as lunges, as Bulgarian split squats. We all need to play around a little bit and see, what works good for our limb lengths, leverages, injury history, and all this kind of good stuff. So this really is a non-question. We have to start from a place of reasonable. And we want to start with a reasonable exercise variation, not to overcome the biological law of accommodation. That's way, way into the overthinking zone. That's a huge, huge reach. We're not doing exercise variety to overcome the biological law of accommodation, right? It's like it's like saying, if I only do 1 to 2 exercises, am I limiting myself? Well, I mean, who's going to do that for 10 years, really, right? No one's going to do that for only 10 years, or no one's going to do that for 10 years. So we have to be reasonable. We want to try to look at the history of lifting, and we want to try within a place, some place that's a foundation that's reasonable. But, when we look at things like this, we're way into the overthinking, unnecessarily overthinking range. What you guys need to do is pull out of that zone, and you need to think, what's a reasonable way to invest my time in the gym during the week? You got 4 workouts. You got about 72 hard sets. In my experience, that's about all the average person can handle. Some can handle a little bit more, some can handle a little bit less, right? So I'm not trying to turn that into a rule. So we have 72 hard sets, and we have to fit in our chest, our back, our delts, our arms, our hamstrings, our calves, our abs, our traps, our rear delts. So we're trying to piece all that together into a structure. So a lot of this is very pragmatic, right? Pragmatism is more important than all this theory crap, right? All the theory crap only makes sense when you already have a pragmatically structured program. So once we structure in our program, we understand how many hard sets the average person can actually handle a week. And in my experience from coaching, when I have guys coaching, most of my guys that are doing 4 days a week, they're averaging about 70 minutes in the gym per workout, with about 18 sets per workout. That's where I come up with all this stuff. I don't just, excuse my honesty, but I don't just pull it out of my ass and make up arbitrary rules, like it happens all too often in Insta coaching or Fitfluencer, of the Fitfluencer realm. Everything I do is framed in the real world. It's nuts and bolts, hands-on coaching. So when we're building a workout, I know from my years of coaching experience and my 15 to 17 years of building workouts and getting feedback, just as a backtrack, over on Muscle and Strength, I had one of my first workouts was a power muscle burn. And I believe it has 3,000 or 4,000 questions, just a ton of feedback. So not just training people online, but an experience of training people, in the real world. I know about 4 workouts of 18 hard sets is going to be about 70 minutes per workout. And we want to get in some exercise variety because it's good for hypertrophy and it's good for our mental stimulation as well. So we want to start within a place of reason, and that's the best place of reason to start. And we also don't want to limit our exercise pool to just like one certain type of exercise. Because if we only do barbells, we're missing the great hypertrophy benefits of dumbbells and machines. So there's just a lot of good things that come from structuring your program from a place of reason, from a place of, this is what we know. This is the average time the lifter has. This is how long the workouts take. This is how many hard sets we generally can get into that time frame. And, if we can get in about 12 hard sets of chest a week, however you slice it and dice it, full body, upper, lower, body part split, we can get in about 4 exercises of 3 sets. So that's where all this stuff comes from. I didn't sit down and go, I'm going to just say everybody has to do 4 exercises per week and then create a program around it and hope the time and gym worked. Everything that I put together in the Massive Iron system has synergy, right? It has a place and a reason. So, when we get questions like this, they're outside of that framework. They're not misguided questions. They're honest and sincere questions, but really they're non-questions. How sunlight is, well, it's good for our hormones. I mean, sunlight is great for mental health. Being outside is great for stress and mental health. That's not an exaggeration at all. But it's not like you're going to walk outside. You're going to be like, you definitely need sunlight for proper hormonal function, for better hormonal function, for better mental health. Sunlight is a just being outside is a wonderful thing for general health, but it's not like it's going to pop your testosterone levels into super physiological levels and you're going to have better gains with extra Z's. We want to do things in life because it's the right thing to do for health and it's optimized. It brings our health to a point where it should be, right? But we can't think that if we're going to go spend a time outside that somehow it's going to amplify gains, with a Z. That's not the case. Jason Smith, I'm noticeably weaker at calf raises if I have walked, for example, 30 minutes to the gym. I don't know. I'm going to say, like, I'm just being honest and just not being critical. But if 30 minutes of walking is torching you, it's probably a general conditioning issue. Like your calves aren't used to that walking. So I'm not being hard on you. What I am is encouraging you to continue it because the body will acclimate. But the one thing we do know, Jason, is that you have to work in the lane you're given. So walk to the gym. I used to walk to the gym. If your calves feel tired, just remind yourself, so what? I'm still going to try to do my sets. I'm still going to try to progress in that lane, etc. And just continue to walk. It's good for general health. Just make sure you're hydrated, you're getting in your electrolytes, and you're not depleted in any way. Big Tim, I'm thirsty from all this gabbing. We're 34 minutes in. Let me get a drink. I feel a little bit weird without my hat on. just be an adult. Is it normal for performance on the big compounds to experience dips? Yeah, absolutely. Nothing in lifting is perfectly linear, right? We want it to be. It's not. Our sleep is not linear. Our sleep is not perfect. Our stress is not perfect. Even our nutrition is not perfect. Our water intake. I mean, you could be super precise guy and nail your sleep, go to bed at exactly 9:01 every night, right? Get up at exactly 6:22 and 33 seconds, have exactly the same amount of water and the same amount of, simple carbs. But there's too much variance. Even if you do plan things out, there's going to be variance. Life always finds a way to irritate us or to rattle us, even in minor ways. Minor changes in glycogen, minor changes just in the weather, hormonal patterns, who knows? All we really care about is the long run, Tim. If you stay true with consistency in nutrition and effort. We don't really care about dips. It's like driving a road from, driving 5,000 miles or running 5,000 kilometers. There's going to be bad weather and good weather. That's life. And we can't worry. We can't be surprised when bad weather hits. If we are, we're simply ignorant. We can't expect, if life teaches you anything, it's that you never know what you're going to get handed on a given day. You just don't. You can have the most wonderfully low stress day ever. And then out of the blue, shit can hit the fan. And that's the body. You could just walk down the steps and tweak the knees slightly, right? What you doing, buddy boy? Stay here, please. Come on, stay here by daddy. I find that these lifts may really be sensitive to external factors, but I can still smash the rest of my workout. Don't overthink it. The best thing, Tim, is to just enjoy your training. It's okay to get frustrated when the numbers don't go up or the numbers don't progress, but try to be a slave to hard work and a slave to the process. Trust the process. Trust that hard work will pay off, and everything will be fine. It's okay to be frustrated when things dip, though. LKJ at 2. As an intermediate who doesn't care much about hammies, what's the minimum weekly volume? Well, I would say one thing I've learned over the years is that when I neglect a body part, like if I neglect hammies and just do quads, I tend to pick up more hammy strains. If I neglect shoulders and training and just do a period where I'm just doing a lot of chest, I've picked up shoulder issues. So I've definitely picked up imbalance issues over the years. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm very much against the 10%, what I would call fringe crowd that doesn't like overhead pressing. No disrespect meant, but I think they're wrong. Even if they're not, this is my system and they can do their system and whatever. But I have learned in my 38 years that when I neglect a certain body part, there's a chance there's a strong chance I'm encouraging some kind of imbalance that can contribute to minor strains or pains, or maybe even major strains or pains. So I would like to see you do 6 sets of hammies. Buddy boy, come on. I would like to see you do 6 sets of hammies. You want to come up by dad for a while? Come on. You can come sit. Just be a good boy. He's looking for his brothers. Big John. How much do natural test levels matter? Not really much at all. I mean, look, I've coached plenty of women. They don't have our test levels. They train hard. They look great. My wife's a good example. My daughter. We overblow the importance. I mean, obviously, for general health, we can notice a difference as men. And we certainly want to facilitate, the best possible testosterone levels. But they're not going to matter. I mean, over the course of 7 to 10 years, take care of yourself. Sleep, food, stress, get outside, do the things that are good for your health, and everything's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. But if you do have really, really low test levels, despite that, go see a doctor. But I don't know anything about what percentage of people that actually take care of themselves have low test levels. I really, really don't. But as far as for gains, it's not going to matter much at all. Buddy boy's getting sleep. You okay, buddy boy? My wife calls him Chi-Chi because he's such a little Chi-Chi. What do we got here? Reese. Your thoughts on only putting 90% effort in your training? No, I don't like that mindset. I mean, number one, how can you gauge what 90% is? You can't really gauge 90% unless I will tell you this. We do know that when it comes to perceived effort, we are usually incorrect, meaning people will perceive that their nutrition, this has been scientifically studied. I'm not just pulling this out of my backside. People will perceive that they are at a certain calorie level, and the reality is different. Our perception of what we're doing is not always, it's frequently incorrect of what's actually occurring. So we have that variable, right? And look, I've always trained hard. I don't have overuse and burnout. You're chasing ghosts that don't exist. I'm just being honest because I care. You're chasing ghosts that don't exist. I don't burn out, man. I fucking love training. I love to get in there and look, I'm not a superhero. I don't have perfect days every day of the week. I feel like a half can of ass right now. Stayed up last night with my wife till like 11:30, watching a movie. And it's nasty AF outside. It's gloomy. It's rainy. I don't want to do anything. I have days where I don't, but I go in and I make the effort. 100% is going in, and we're not doing circus acts, right? We're not trying to, be like Tom Platz on every set, but we go in and we put in the work on that set. We control the weight. That's not something you can skip out of, right? You don't just stop controlling the weight because you're tired. 100% is going to be 100%. There's no, you want to dial down weight. What point would, the only thing you can dial down is weight. You can't dial down form. You can't dial down controlling the weight. Then you're just reckless and speeding through reps and you have useless sets. So the only thing you can dial down is weight or stopping reps shorter than last time. You can dial down your progression. That's called a deload, right? You honestly, Reese, you're chasing things that don't exist. If you feel tired from your effort, you probably need to continue pushing hard because your work capacity is probably under. And to improve, you need to continue to push hard. So you're not going to get overuse injuries. I don't get overuse injuries. Sure, there are periods in time, periods where you're going to feel tired, cumulative fatigue. That happens, and you take an extra rest day, right? But you're trying to reverse engineer things. So you never train so hard you need an extra rest day. No, fuck that. You do what you need to do. And then when you need an extra rest day, you take an extra rest day. And burnout, look, I'm going to be honest with you. If you guys burn out on something, maybe you need to change programs, or maybe you don't like resistance training as much as you want to. And that's okay. Not everybody has to be like Godzilla. But if you want maximum muscle and strength, you have to do what it takes. And if you just want to be the guy that does the 70% and gains, and I use air quotes, only 10 to 12 pounds of muscle, that's okay. Not everybody has to be the most massive, right? And the strongest. That's okay. I train a lot of guys. I coach a lot of guys that aren't in it to be maximum natural potential. That's fine. This is not about turning everybody into, having everybody does not have the same goals, right? So if you're burning out, then you're probably chasing a goal you really don't want to chase, and you have to do some self-evaluation. All right, I'm going to put you down, buddy. There you go. Now rest. Can someone with narrow clavicles ever look broad? I will hope so. Yes. Anybody I've ever met in my 38 years of lifting that is pretty darn muscular looks great. They look fine. They look great. Don't overthink this stuff, guys. Small bone guys or narrow clavicles or whatever. If you build a lot of muscle, and you're relatively lean, you're going to look awesome. So you will. And your delts will look good and you'll look amazing, right? Especially in pictures. So don't overthink this stuff, guys. You look absolutely great. Adam, big, hairy, ugly dude, happy Friday. Go lay down, buddy. Go lay down, please. Do you view the leg press as a lower body compound? Yes. Or a quad-focused dominant exercise? It's the same thing. They're the same thing. A squat is a lower body compound that is quad-focused. A leg press is a lower body exercise compound that is quad-focused. Anything that's pushing a lot of weight is going to be a big compound. It's going to involve the hips. It's going to involve the hamstrings, the adductors, abductors, glutes, whatever, to varying degrees. And some of this has to do with the limb lengths and leverages of the individual. But all of them are lower body compounds. And if they are like hack squats, leg presses, squats, they are quad focused to a varying degree depending on the lifter. Some of you are not going to feel the quads get sore because you might have another area, because they might be so strong that another area is always feeling sore from them. Any special cues for this lift? The leg press. I used to be the guy that worried too much about depth to the point where if there was any lower back rounding, I would get a little bit nervous, because in the world of coaching, the lower back is something we really, really need to protect. Because when we have squats and deadlifts and RDLs in the mix, and we're already beating up our lower back a lot, and then we toss in some kind of barbell and dumbbell row, and then we toss in the leg press, it can also contribute to lower back aggravation. So I would say go deeper on the leg press than you want to, as long as your lower back's not getting beat up. That's the big thing. So, all right. Tim, when do we rotate exercises? There is no when. You don't need to rotate exercises. You try new exercise when you want. Like if you want to try the barrel press instead of the fly, you try the barrel press instead of the fly. If you want to try the pec deck instead of the dumbbell fly, you try the pec deck instead of the dumbbell fly. There is no when, Tim, and there is no why. The why is whenever you feel like it. Unless if a lift's bothering you, aggravating you, or creating strains or issues, you might want to rotate something in. There's a why. A why is you don't like an exercise or it doesn't feel good, and there's a reasonable swap. That's another good why. Dumbbells and donuts. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining in. What is your favorite or most prescribed way to increase intensity when weight cannot be rest pause? First thing you want to do, like when you can't increase weight, decrease time between sets safely. Don't go crazy. That would be step one. Move to rest pause, because with rest pause, the average rep quality is going to go up. So you can't move up in weight, but here's an easy way to increase the average rep quality by reducing the rests in between sets. So you can slowly, let's say I'm traveling and I'm at some rando gym where they only have 70-pound dumbbells. And you could do 90-pound dumbbells or 100 on dumbbell bench. You could start with a minute of rest. And what I typically do in those situations is I condense rest, and then I'll add volume at the end if I have the energies. A drop set, maybe as a finisher or run the rack, but that's not, that's just like a temporary solution when the weight can't be increased. Like if you run out of weight, you just do one drop set, the body's going to pretty much acclimate to that pretty quickly. Whereas if you condense rest and you add a little bit of volume, you're going to really increase the overall intensity of the workout session. And then you can throw a drop set or run the rack stack at the end. Big Bad John, what are your thoughts on rating soreness, pumps, and recovery? No, not the base your nest workout on. I would say that's one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard. I'm just giving you my honest opinion of the concept. Like, I do not care what my pump was or my soreness was or my recovery. I have a plan. This is a progression approach. I go in and do the workout. I don't base it on how my recovery was. If you're not recovering, that's a whole separate issue. Maybe you need to adjust your plan, but you don't adjust it on the fly. I do not give 8 fucks what a pump, a pump can be an indicator that you are training a certain areas hard, but I don't get back pumps. I don't get trap pumps. I get tricep pumps. I don't really see bicep pumps. I get mostly shoulder and quality shoulder and tricep pumps, but pumps are not a really good indicator. And recovery, we're not going to do it on the fly. If you're not recovering properly, you need to adjust your program as a whole. Does that make sense? Big Tim, adding to my previous question, when and why should one add it? There's no when or why, Tim. You're just overthinking a little bit. You start at a place of reason, and it's very pragmatic. Say somebody's in the gym and their posterior or their back days are running super long, right? And my sexiness is coming through. Say your posterior days are running super long, and you want to cut a set on deadlifts to trim down the time. There has to be a reason to add or remove sets. That's the when and why. You're running short on time, workouts are running long. Maybe remove a set of deadlifts down from 3 to 2. That there has to be a reason to change things. There's not really anything to look out for other than, is there an issue with that workout day? If not, the only other thing is like, do I feel like I could do more on that day? All right. Other than Steve Reeves, what other old school elite naturals can we look up to? I like Marvin Eder. Marvin Eder is very underrated. He was, I don't know if you guys know who Marvin Eder was, but he was super strong. I'll try to find an image here that let me just find an image. I don't want to do a Google search, and God knows what you find in a Google search, right? So let me bring up Marvin Eder for those of you that are not familiar with him. There's Marvin. Super strong, really good thickness. You can tell he's got some really decent lats, some thick abs, really good upper body, a nice narrow waist. He's got a more of a thicker waist from the front view, but from the side, he looks a little bit leaner. And good old school physique. I always like Marvin's strength levels as well. Big Tim, thoughts on powerlifters that have 1 million cues for each lift? Well, I don't think being in the powerlifting world, I don't think powerlifters have 1 million cues for each lift. I think they have a rigid certain setup structure. There is a difference between benching for a 1 rep max, trying to squeeze an extra 2 ounces out of it with leg drive and training for hypertrophy. And therein lies half the problem with modern hypertrophy. I think a lot of people are trying to do squats that are wide stance, low bar, that aren't suited for it, and it's not good for building their quads. I'm just being honest. I think the average lifter should start with a high bar, more narrow stance, and get used to that and hip depth there. I think there are a lot of things in powerlifting that have been pulled over to muscle building that aren't necessarily the best for muscle building, but they can be good things for testing or training for your 1 rep max. Squat form, all the overthinking cues on bench. Those are the ridiculous things. You don't need any of that for hypertrophy. Just look at Freaky D, training with a Larson press. One of the best things you can do is just control the weight on your bench and try not to bounce it off your chest. That's really all you need for bench. You don't even need to set up on your upper back. You think I do that? No. I don't do any of that stuff. I never have. My shoulders aren't getting torn up. I don't care about leg drive on the bench. I'm trying to build a big chest. And then if I want to, when I get to a powerlifting meet, if I want to peak and start working on a little bit of leg drive or push or whatever, go for it. But that's not try to turn every bench session into a endless arch leg drive thing. It's hard to sustain that stuff during training. Deadlift's pretty straightforward as far as setup and cues. Squat's more of a case that we need to fix somebody's squat and get it into the safety zone. And bench is more of the case that people way overcomplicate the bench when they don't need to. Almost all coaches, studies recommend protein as a proportion of body weight. Not almost all. Not almost all studies. That's not true at all. You're talking to someone that's spent their life looking at studies and in the industry. Why don't I count it? Because I know it's not necessary. You have a 300-pound man, and we're going to base protein off his body weight. This works well. I mean, it works well for guys that are around 170 to 190 because that's about what they should be taking in anyway, 170, 180. Also because I'm going to say this politely, but what we take in is more than just about gains with Z's. We have to have dietary balance, right? So I work with guys that have 5,000 that need 5,000 calories to maintain. I'm going to tell them to eat like 170 grams of protein because it's based on it. It's just silliness. It's not in real world coaching, right? It doesn't take into balance. It doesn't take in the calorie. There's a wide variety of calorie. We were talking about this on Team Massive. There's a wide variety in calorie intakes just around guys that have around the same steps. I got guys that are in their like late 20s, get in about the same steps each week, have about the same workout split. Some guys require 5,000 calories and some are maintaining at 2,500. So we have dietary balance, which is a big issue. And basing protein intake on body weight is just, excuse my language, I'm going to swear, it's fucking arbitrary. Arbitrary is stupid. It's dumbed down. Arbitrary is dumbed down fuckery. Okay. I arbitrarily say your protein should be related to your weight. Why? I don't know, because it sounds good on paper, right? If that's it, that's it. Like, if you want to use that as a frame of reference, that's fine, but it's not like it's some commandment. Skinnier guys, we need balance, and we need nutrients, and having good macro balance. Protein foods tend to be very micronutrient rich. So for the underweight guy, or just the average guy, you need 150 minimum, 170, 180 grams of protein. I'm going to tell you guys something. There are more than a few lifters I've known that have a lot of natural mass that really never eat more than 150-ish grams of protein a day ever. Do you think I've micromanaged protein over the years? I found it completely unnecessary and overthinking. It's more about reasonable dietary balance. If you think somehow there's going to be a massive difference between taking 150 and 220 grams a day, it's more preference than anything. It really doesn't matter. If you're super low on protein, then there are some areas that we need to be concerned with, like you're probably not reaping all the benefits that come from eating more protein, which is nutrients. And you probably have a little bit of an unbalanced diet. You might be relying on crap foods too much. If somebody's trying to lose weight, we want to get their protein as high as possible, because that will involve lean protein sources. So there's many different factors involved, but I'm not being disrespectful, but almost all is just the people you follow, your tube. I've been in this industry for a long time. I've met them all, done them all, written 1,000 articles myself. I've been an editor at Muscle and Strength, an editor at Tiger Fitness. I ran Muscle and Brawn. I've worked as an editor with everybody you can think of, from Paul Carter to Lane Norton, the 3D Muscle Journey guys. Like, at some point, Sean Clarita, at some point, any of these guys that have written articles have probably written an article for me. Not for me specifically, but when I was an editor for one of these companies. Because I've been there, done it, worked with them all. John Meadows, I've talked on the phone with John about working articles, or putting together articles. Mike Rashid, C.T. Fletcher, the Hodge twins have been in my office. Everybody you can possibly think of. Chris Jones, the science guys, all the science guys, Doug Miller. I've never worked with Schoenfeld. I've never worked with Dr. Mike. I've never worked with Lyle, but I've worked with so many of them. And I've edited their articles. I've read them. And just being in the real world, I know not almost all, So I hope that explains. That just tends to be more of the guys you focus. I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way, but we tend to have people that we follow and we kind of focus on a concept. It doesn't have to be a bad concept, but we have to understand the deficiencies or where it can break down by just saying you have to base your protein on body weight. D&D. Is there any merit in reducing carbs? No, don't do it. Your body is repairing and recovering 7 days a week. You need to get your glycogen stores up. Staying lean on a bulk is about being, you're not going to stay any leaner on a bulk. That's fear of fat speaking to you. It's fear of fat. And you're trying to find a shortcut. It's just an unnecessary one with just too many potential downsides. Keep calories consistent. Keep the bulk in a smart lane. It's fear of fat. You don't get fat on a proper bulking structure. The one thing you do is if you start trimming back calories is you can hinder your muscle building. So don't be that guy. Cool kit. How to calculate how much to cut after a longer bulk. Let's say I will gain 15 pounds in 8 months. Well, four months is a long cut, man. I mean, if you need to cut for 4 months, you're talking like Chubba Wubba 30 pounds. You know, that's way like if you need to gain 30 pounds or if you need to cut 30 pounds or 25 pounds, you're chubbly wubbly, right? You should be doing that now before bulking. You know, you should be knocking off 15 now. A cut needs to be in now like a surgeon. If you need to cut, 10, 15 pounds tops, this shouldn't take more than 6 weeks. If your cut's taking more than 6 weeks, you're slogging along, cheating too much, worried about losing muscle, right? 2.5 pounds a week is nothing when you're humming on a cut. 2 to 2.5 pounds a week. And 4 months, you're looking at like, you're either stretching that cut out way too long, you're going to get diet fatigue, or you're really chubbly wubbly, right? You're got like 25, 30 at least to lose. So if you start at a reasonable body weight, you want to lose what you gain. Let's say you start at 190 and you feel a little fluffy. Gain 15, lose 15. Gain 15, lose 15, until you get your body fat percentage down to like 14, 15%. And then you can start to creep that body weight up a little bit. Does that make sense? Yvonne, how's it going? Do you think that adding in higher rep deadlifts, no, it can be all right. As long as your lower back's handling it. The only reason I cringed was like, we have to be super careful that our number one, our form is good. And you can have good form and still have a weaker lower back relative to your hips, your glutes, your quads, your upper back, your traps, your yoke, all that kind of stuff, right? So if your form is good and your lower back can handle it, then it would not be too much stress. But when your lower back starts to take punishment, then I would probably drop the volume down a bit. Big Bad Bert. I seem to get a bit obsessed with bodybuilding. That's all right. That was my obsession. I love muscle building. Want to control every metric. Having a plan is actually a good thing. I will tell you in coaching, it's the people that don't have plans. They're like trying to fly an airplane upside down in the dark blindfolded. Any tips on letting go? We have to understand what we need and what is optional. We need to train hard. We need to track. We need to track our weight a couple times a week. We need to have a reasonable understanding of our calorie intake and make sure our weight is going up. But beyond that, we need to make sure our protein is not too low. That our diet is pretty balanced. That's all you really need to track: your workouts, your weight, your make sure your protein's reasonable, make sure your calories are reasonable. That's it. Sleep. I mean, you want to have good sleep habits, right? Big Jonathan, what would be a good follow-up to the Massive 6 for a late beginner? I would do the upper posterior. If you guys go over to my site and you search posterior, just in the search bar, and that's superlivingtoday.com. You can see it right there. If you go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, and you search posterior, you are going to get the upper posterior. And that would be a good place. You can do that 3 or 4 days a week. You can do it on a flexible schedule. So there's 4 workouts. upper A, posterior A, upper B, posterior B. And you can cycle between those 4 workouts. And you can train 3 or 4 days a week. You can keep a flexible schedule. All right, let me get a drink here. And Jonathan, I'm gonna crown you the winner. Jonathan, you win a free Massive Iron t-shirt, hoodie, Massive Iron whey, or creatine. So hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman. At Ben the Barman, or email me benthebarman@gmail.com. And congrats. Here we go. 1 of 2. For someone who gets a decent chunk of their carbs from fruit and veg, plant-based, good. Happy to hear that. Is there any benefit in using net carbs? No, not really. Just way in the overthinking zone. Just you want to look at scale, and you want to look at overall carbs. And if you're super consistent already with your type of carb intake, it's not going to matter much. Excuse me. If someone's going to, no, it won't matter much. No need to overcomplicate things. If you want to do net carbs compared to scale weight, that's fine. Then monitor that. Whatever system you need, then run with it. But there's no need to do it at all. Big Doc, if someone is doing a 1-month aggressive cut, the way you want to kind of look at training during a cut is you want to desensitize yourself a little bit. You don't want to train like a wet noodle. Like during a cut, I don't my training is not dramatically different. I just don't over push for PRs. Like if an easy rep is there, you're doing like rep 8 on a dumbbell curl, like, I can get number 9, take number 9, advance. I just don't over push, especially on the big lifts. Save that for the bulk. Take the easy reps. I would probably trim back on rest pause and intensity techniques like drop sets and supersets. Just relax a little bit, desensitize the body to the intense stuff a little bit. And try not to really train above 82.5% of your 1 rep max, because you have less glycogen in the muscles, less energy. If you train with like a 5 rep set in that kind of a state, I believe you're just unnecessarily increasing the risk of injury. Does that make sense? Michael with the off-topic favorite wingy sauce. I'm just a straight buffalo sauce guy, but I like mango habanero, mango habanero from Buffalo Wild Wings. I like that. It doesn't always like my gut so well, but yeah, I like that a lot. I'll tell you what's a good sauce. KFC had, what was it? Nashville sweet something. That was pretty darn good. I don't like all that deep fried stuff, but just the taste of that sauce. I think when we flew back from Scotland, we were it was in January. We were in Chicago. We had to drive from, Chicago had to get our car, go from like Chicago to Ohio. And I believe it was snowing. There was no place open. We had to go to a KFC to eat. Because sometimes, you're SOL. You have to fill the gut with whatever's around. So I recall I got Nashville heat or sweet. What is it called? I don't know. I'm not a fast food expert, but I recall that being really good. Does foot placement on the leg press? Natural. There's such an overthinking crowd. Like, go high, go wide, this different angle. Screw that. You want natural, slightly angled out, and your thigh has to match the angle of your foot as the weight comes down. all this stuff about going wide to target this and going narrow to target this, completely unnecessary. I think you can accomplish all the same things with just a reasonable exercise variety. I'm not a fan of that. If you want to do that stuff and you find value, go ahead. I think it's a little bit foo-foo. Running my next training block, going to be 16 weeks, good period of time. I do a main compound followed by accessories, excellent. I'm currently arranging it so that every 6 weeks the rep range is on it. Unnecessary, arbitrary. Why? I'm not being hard, doc. Why? Like, you're going to have a rep range on your accessories, and you have to be pushing them naturally, right? So I think you're way into the if you enjoy this, go ahead. But I'm going to be honest with you, it'll add no inherent value. Let's say you're doing leg presses. It would have value if the time frame was longer. This is just my opinion. And the rep range difference was greater. So leg press, you could do 10, 15s, and 20s, right? Obviously, you're going to have a greater degree of intensity. There are certain lifts that you could pull this off on. Pec deck, you could have 12s and 20s, right? That would be okay because they're a wider space between the rep range. You're going to be using different weight. They're both going to have progression indicators anyway. 6 weeks, in my opinion, is too narrow because the first 2 or 3 weeks, you're really acclimating to the demands, dialing in things, and then you leave yourself 4 weeks to run. So if I were to give you my best opinion, it would be to maybe do 8-week blocks and make sure the rep range variance is different enough to actually provide inherent value. Does that make sense? And tailor it to the exercise. Like, you don't want to do 18 rep barbell rows. It'll tear up your lower back. Right? You could also do things, Doc, like vary between straight lat pull downs for an 8-week block and then rest pause for an 8-week block. So don't rule out variances like that. Oops, we got more. Weeks 1 to 6 lat, there's just not much of a difference. There's much of a difference between 8 to 10 and 13 to 16. It's not like it's bad. I just think it requires a lot of precision. I'm sure you're fine. You still have to have progression. And I would probably do 8-week blocks, to be honest with you, because the first couple of weeks are going to be more break-in stuff. We don't want to throw away too many weeks of the cycle. Your thoughts, just poking at you, on a slight decline barbell press. That's fine. I've done that before. It's going to be more triceps more than anything. But if you can feel the chest more, that's fine, man. Do what works for you, as long as it's reasonable. If you feel the chest work more, then absolutely. Big, Brandon, in your opinion, what are the best steps to take to become a personal trainer? Well, if I were to become a gym trainer, I'd get a certification. And I will tell you, professionally, study the living fuck out of programming, the history of programming. Get every resource you can find. Bodybuilding books from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Look at programming. look at the commonalities of programming and get in and get your feet wet. Study exercise form from the best, not one or two sources. There are so many people in this industry that think they know exercise form that don't. They just make up crap and call it good exercise form. So if you want to be well ahead of the crowd, you need to study the commonalities of programming and exercise form. And you need to understand there's different types of trainers. There's hypertrophy and strength trainers, and there's trainers that hand out all this random WOD-like workout of the day stuff for general conditioning, which isn't, necessarily the best for muscle and strength building, right? Big Martin. If I can do a fast cut, should I? Yes. How fast of a cut is too fast? Well, if it's not sustainable, it's too fast. 2.5 pounds a week, man, is a good goal. It's not like you're going to lose massive amounts of muscle. The body is really good at retaining muscle, so I wouldn't panic. Even if you lose a couple ounces, it's going to come back anyway, muscle memory. But get that fat off, man. Cuts are horrible. Get in, dig deep, get it off, move on. Do I have to track calories on a bulk? Nope. But you do have to track body weight, and you do have to be reasonably consistent. And if that scale is not going up, you need to eat more. Big John Paul. Hopefully in the future I can bench my body weight. I can only bench. How you doing? All right. Already benching your body weight. My first bulk will end at the end of April. I'm just jealous of those I can bench. Dude, you can bench your body weight. Your body weight's 143. You're benching like about, 180. For reps, yeah, you'll get there. I mean, you're only like a workout or two away. You'll get there. Just keep your nutrition solid. Big David. Happy Freitag. How long is normal to get my bench back up to 275? I forgot where it's at, David. But it shouldn't take too long. Once you've been there, it shouldn't take long to get back up there. But David, I forgot where you're at. Rico, how's it going, Rico? Camouflage massive iron shirt. Yeah, I'd love it. I work with a clothing company, and they have tons and tons of options where I can put my design on stuff, but I don't recall a camo. So I'm going to have to look. Woodulus, greetings from Bonnie, Scotland. Can you talk a wee bit about the benefits of cluster sets, please? So cluster sets is a generic label for a cluster of sets. Usually a cluster set, you're going to have the same weight for all the sets, okay? So you're not messing around changing weight. And usually you're going to have a rigid time between sets. So you're going to have a cluster, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever that cluster is. It's pliable, right? You're going to have the same weight, and you're going to have about the same rest period. So you don't want the rest to be too long. Then you're just doing volume. So a cluster, I don't know, for a big beefy exercise, maybe a minute, 45 seconds. For a smaller exercise, maybe 30 seconds. You could do a 10 by 10 cluster on cable tricep extensions. 10 by 10 with like 30 seconds of rest, a cluster. You could do an 8 by 8 cluster on squats with 90 seconds rest between. Same weight, pretty much the same rest periods. I've done it before. I've written cluster workouts. I think I won a muscle and strength that's over 12 years old. That's one of the good things about me is I've been doing this so long, man. I've been living in this world so long. I have a workout pretty much of everything. I've tried everything 100 times over. Larzo, can you explain the dumbbell barrel press? So I'm going to pull up a video for you guys. I've been, my training, the way I coach, excuse me, kind of trains over time. Let me mute this because we do not want any music on here because YouTube gets angry. Excuse me. Okay. So let me see if I can share screen. So on a regular bench, dumbbell bench, you're going to kind of be down here, right? Like this is where it's natural for me, not like this. A little bit down, pressing. Okay. And a fly, you're going to come a little bit below your nippy nips, right? You're going to come a little bit down below your nippy nips, and then you're going to fly up. It's going to be like arms bent a little bit. So a fly is like this. A dumbbell is like this, a dumbbell bench. A barrel press, you start out here, okay? You're going to start with hands kind of like that. I fly the elbows down till I get a stretch, and wrists are about over elbows. Then I press up. I fly down but you're not flying like this. You're doing wrists over elbows, and you hug the barrel, press up. Does that make sense? So let's watch this guy.
Amazing chest exercise people do not
this is not it. There he's just doing
comfortably overloading the chest
heavy ass
with weight like a press and isolating the chest like a fly. An exercise I believe
here's the barrel.
Is easier on the shoulder
down. See, wrists are about over elbows.
It's a combination of both of these exercises.
You're getting a good. You want to get a good stretch at the bottom,
referred to as the barrel press,
where you can at least feel the chest. Does that make sense? Big Tim, do you have any experience where you realize, did you have any experiences where you realized what hard training was? I'm trying to think. One thing I'll say is when you get to train with other individuals that are big and strong, you realize what hard training is and if there are any deficiencies. I don't think there's anybody I know of that's trained light years ahead of me as a whole, but there were certainly various aspects of their training where I might have learned something. But this might sound a little bit like ego, Tim, but I'm usually the guy, like when somebody comes to train with me, that I'm like, how can I kill them? Right? So one of my powerlifting friends, he's a big, strong powerlifter. He came in to Ohio once and he wanted to work out. We were going to do a video. So we took our 20 rep max on bench. And we're just like, I do a rep, then you do a rep. We both just put 225 on, right? I do a rep, you do a rep. I do 2, you do 2. I do 3, you do 3. And we want to see how far we could go. And I don't know what I got to, like 17 or what. I beat him by 1 rep. But I like doing things like that. That's hard training. That's not super 1 rep max focused. Big Blaine, happy Friday. Thank you. Do you plan on posting any training videos? Yeah, once I get the new gym, one of the reasons why I'm doing my cut right now is I want to be in the best shape of my life. And I'm going to have a filming studio This sounds all extravagant, like me, just Mr. Ghetto, right? But I'm going to have a filming setup. I want to make my videos more and more quality information. So I'm going to have my basement is going to be huge, and it's going to be a completely furnished gym. And I want it. It's my gift to myself. I'm going to spoil myself. I'm going to have a filming studio down there. I'm going to do a lot more filming of my workouts, of me doing exercises, me teaching form. 100%. This year is going to be the best content. Starting this year is going to be the best content I ever put on. Not because I want to be best content guy, right? But because I want to transition to better education. Over the years, I've made 3,000 videos, and they're just like, what random thing do I want to talk about today? Okay, well, I've talked about 3,000 things, and I've created 300 workouts over the last 38 years. Now it's time for me to pull all this together into some concise form of education or teaching, where this is my system, this is me doing my system, this is me teaching form, this is me teaching you how to do form, right? So I'm not trying to be like, hey, what fancy camera can I get for the sake of getting a fancy camera, right? Excuse my honesty, excuse my crudeness, but I'm not just going to get a fancy camera for the sake of getting a fancy camera and getting a filming studio for the sake of getting a filming studio. What I want to do is increase my focus and increase my level of education, because number one, I'm not satisfied. Like, I didn't get into I never got into YouTube thinking I'd be doing it 3,000 videos later, thinking I'd have a career where I have this vast pool of workout systems and this great community. But I'm going to be 56 this year. And you know what? I do not want to be the 56-year-old guy on YouTube Fitness. I want to be the 56-year-old guy that looks fucking 40, that is just crushing things and looks great and is crushing trail runs. I want to be the best I can be. That's what it's really about. And I want to put out the best information I can put out. Abby from Team Massive, happy Friday. Thanks for tuning in. Ben, client of mine. Good morning. Just hitting my Friday leg workout. Hope everything is well. Everyone is well. Thank you, Ben. Eric, a client of mine. Did Stein steal your hat? Happy Friday. Tuned in from work. Like, subscribe, and join Team Massive. Please consider joining. TeamMassiveIron.com. TeamMassiveIron.com. If you're sick of Facebook, you're sick of negativity and confusion in the lifting industry, we have the best team. We have the best community on social media and social media fitness. It's a private website, TeamMassiveIron.com. TeamMassiveIron.com. And no politics, no religion, no bullshit, no hate, no trolls. And if you're not on Team Massive, you're missing out. Abby, you're doing great. It's lifting day. It's a lifting day after work. Get after it and let us know how it goes. Big Tim, general guidelines for nutrition timing. Stuff like how long to avoid going without food. Don't worry so much about that, Tim. The big thing is having a structure. Like, when do I plan on eating every day? What am I going to eat? 3 or 4 meal choices, 2 or 3, whatever it is for you, right? Having a structure and having a plan is number one. You don't want to eat too close to your workouts, so you don't want to go into your workout feeling bloated, like you're going to puke, right? and you want to go in your workout feeling hungry. So you have to figure out what time that is. 2.5 hours, 2 hours, hour and a half before. It has to work for you. You don't need to do anything intra workout. Unless you're training long, it's not going to make or break anything. When you're done, you probably want some simple carbs to get the recovery process going. In general, and this is a general guideline, not a hard and fast rule because we're not that fragile. You want to eat about every 3.5 to 4 hours. You want to eat about 4 times a day at least, getting in at least 35, 40 grams of protein for men or about 25 to 30 for women. Big Paul from Team Massive. 3 days left in the cut. Super excited. Join Team Massive for big gains. Thank you, Paul. I was going to say Big Brandy, but you can't say Big Brandy. Sorry, Brandy. I don't know you. I'm going to get in trouble calling you Big Brandy. I'm very sorry. I'm just used to calling everybody big. Teensy Tiny, Sprite-like, gentle as a flower or a spring breeze, Brandy. How's that? I'm having some issues with form on my bar squats. Any tips? I feel like I can't find the right stance. The biggest tip I can give you is send me a video. Like, there's so many things to unpack when it comes to teaching the squat. If you can get a video from behind where I can see your feet and your knees, and you can either join teammassiveiron.com or you can DM me on Instagram, Ben the Barman. I'd be happy to help. 100%. Doesn't cost you a thing. Rolf Sean 64. Out getting coffee, but wanted to say hi. Thanks for tuning in. Is that the Massive Iron Way or the Massive Iron Way? Both. Let's always go for both. Aberrant. Does it matter if you put a 45 on one side? I don't know. That would break my brain. It probably really doesn't matter, but like I'm like calculating the physics and like is the balance angle off by 1 millimeter and things like that. It could put on a micro level, it could create a micro imbalance. But I don't think it matters. I wouldn't do it every day. Last 2.5 weeks cutting. Dig in, yo, and get that over with. Summer's coming. The Addams family. What is the standard method of weight progression on smaller? You want to go as small as possible. I posted on Instagram yesterday about sometimes you jump up more on the first set, and then when that goes up, you jump up on the second set. So you want to go as small as possible. The smaller isolation exercises generally don't have wide progression opportunities. So, you just go slow and low and steady. Big Dan Cook. If you are planning a day of physical activity, #sex, #extreme bouts of prolonged sex. He's just saying long hikes and rides to be polite. But Dan, we know it's prolonged sex. Just look at that avatar, Dan. If you're planning a day of physical activity, how do you structure your training around it? I have done long hikes and then came home and then tried to lift, and you can feel pretty flat. My best advice is you need to have a period of time after the physical activity before your workout, 2 to 3 hours, where you can get in a meal, where you can get in your hydration, where you can get off your feet, and you can get in your electrolytes, at least your sodium. Does that make sense? Big Tim. Earlier this week, I had a question about deadlifts versus stiff bars on Team Massive. You mentioned you'd prefer the deadlift bar as it makes the movement more fluid. A deadlift bar has more flex. And when you pull, it's going to be a more, lost my voice. Here's the bar. A deadlift bar is going to be more fluid. It's not going to fight you as much. A rigid bar, when you pull, it's going to fight back. So when something pulls back, as opposed to flexing, when you pull and it pulls back, there's going to be kind of a chain reaction. And it's going to end up hitting your lower back a little bit more hard. That's a generalization. So if you're pulling and it's flexing, there's going to be less stress in your lower back than if you're pulling and it's pulling back. Does that make sense? Should I care about my horizontal pulls not progressing if my vertical pulls are great? Yes. Horizontal pulls are king. So if your lat pulls and pull-ups are doing okay, that's good. But horizontal pulls, you should be ripping the living heck out of those, my friend. Don't baby them, mind muscle them to the point where you steal all your gains from them. You don't baby a bar off your chest when you're benching like, mind muscle, right? Give the equal amount of force pulling towards your body as you would pushing away. Does that make sense? LV, don't forget to smash the like button, please. These live videos, I do them every single week. And YouTube doesn't like them. It doesn't. I mean, because it's not something people leave 100 comments on. They leave the comments in the video. So if you can like and, watch for as long as you can, that just helps. And why wouldn't you, right? Big Eric, the beard of redness. I find doing posterior and then upper without a rest day, my upper session suffers. Is that something? Yeah, you'll get used to it. That's a sit-fu occasion, Eric. Suck it the bleep up. I'm just saying that politely. But 100% sit-fu. I mean, you could train every other day. But just make sure you nail your nutrition. That's a work capacity thing. I know you do jiu-jitsu as well, so there's a lot of vegetables in the soup. But just keep sucking it up, my friend. Big Brian, do you think mini cuts are a valid way to lose a little body fat followed by don't do the reverse dieting? It's just a waste of time. Don't reverse diet. It's unnecessary. It's just completely unnecessary. Like backing up your calories for what reason? I'm not going after you, Brian. I'm just going after the concept in general. It's not needed. It's not needed at all. Get the mini cut over and get back on. You're going to gain water weight either way, whether you do it slowly or quickly. It's not going to be any different whether you do it slowly or quickly. Just get it the damn over with and get back on. Freaking Kenny G. Right, yeah. Your Kenny G workout on Saturday. Good morning, Team Massive. Happy Friday. My mount. All right, now we got some real conversations here. Off topic space. Your mountain of sci-fi horror. Alien, The Thing, Aliens, Predator. You keep or change. Event Horizon. Super underrated. And people that are not into space and horror are not going to like Event Horizon. Event Horizon is there. It's there. 100%. You got Alien, you got Aliens, you got Event Horizon, you got The Thing. And Predator. Predator's more action-y for me and spacey, but you know what? Pandorum. Come on, that's a good movie. That's a good space horror movie. I'm going to kick Predator out of there because it's more of an adventure. I'm going to put Pandorum and Event Horizon. Hydroxyxomyxamine. Morning, Steve. How important is squat depth? Well, if you can't reach depth, you got to let somebody help you out. So you got to have somebody look at it at least. So let me look at your squat. Get a video, upload it, send it to me on Instagram, or join Team Massive. I help you out every week on Team Massive. If you can't afford Team Massive, it's super cheap. And ain't nobody needs to go out and get a Hulu subscription anyway. I want you to drop Hulu. Hashtag, I was going to say, hashtag fuck Hulu. But, you know, we got all these subscriptions, and Team Massive's super cheap. And you know what? It's going to be the best subscription you're going to get because we got a good community. You get form checks, you get daily check-ins, and you got a good community. Like Team Massive isn't just me posting crap and everybody else going, what did the figurehead post, right? It's a community where people can log and interact with each other. And, you know, I just oversee it and I facilitate it. But you can do form checks for a week. If reincarnated, what animal would you want to come back as? Man, I'm not even sure I'd want to live again. Paying taxes. Like you could say a dog, you know, like the dog has a good life, but you get the wrong owner, your life's hell. You know, so would you want to come back as a human? Again, you got a crapshoot. I think, I'm going to be honest with you, one life's good enough for me. If I make it to 85, I'm going to be so tired of paying taxes, I'm going to tell them to shove it up their ass. I'm tired of filling out forms. Leave an old man be, right? Big Barry Wong. How often do you have a light day? I had one 17 years ago, I think. What's a light day? I just take a day off. I never go light, Barry. Like, I'm not a deload guy. I'm not negating the concept. I advocate it for my clients when necessary. Sometimes, you know, if you got a lower back strain, you got to go a little bit lighter. I'm more pragmatic with that stuff. I don't like to go lighter unless I have an injury. What kind of running shoe do you use? I do 100% trail running, and I like Speedcross 4, my favorites. I've owned probably 12, 14 pair in 3 years. I blow through them like tires, man. I'm like a NASCAR team just blowing through shoes. You know, because remember, I was running 12, 14 hours a week for a while. Right now, I'm at about 5. And I'm on my last pair of Speedcross 4s, and they got little holes where my toesies are. I actually need to go find some more. Because believe it or not, I got big-ass feet. I got a weird combination. I got a wide foot, and I got a long foot. Like Bigfoot. It's true, man. I mean, and I got a big, fat ankle that barely fits in boots. So it's big fat heel. So like I think I bought every size 11 Speedcross 4, and I get 11 because I like them really tight in the toe box. Some shoes, like my boots, I wear 12 or 11 and a half, depending on but I have a really long foot and a really blocky foot. So Speedcross 4 is my best bet. Doc, tuned in. Looking good on the cut. Thanks. We're getting there. Slow but sure, we're getting there. Not bad for 55, right? If I'm just laughing at myself using 50. We can joke with humor, can we? If I just hit 175 for 2 to 3 reps, 225 max, you got about 7 plus ones to go. So you could hit one every 3 to 4 months, every 3 to 4 weeks. 5 to 7 months would be a good goal. Any thought on Nick? I saw a video saying I'm not going to offend anybody, but I don't know who he is. I just saw he was being canceled. I have no idea who he is, really. That's no disrespect, man. I kind of stay in my lane in my world. It's not that I don't care. I just don't have time. Client work is my thing. And when I'm not doing client work, if I need a break, I'll go check Team Massive. Client work, take a break, check Team Massive. That's my day. In between that, we're making runs for energy drinks, taking the dog out, and that's my whole day. So when I have free time, my free time is like when I'm eating. I'll go cook, and then when I eat, like what did I do Wednesday when I was eating for half an hour? I watched rugby, the Saracens versus the Irish. I watched the first 30 minutes replay. So I'll watch rugby or I'll watch Premier League during the week for like 30 minutes. I end up watching like 30 minutes of a game. I never end up finishing, but that's usually what I do. Thank you so much for your videos. Thank you, sir. Which do you think is better for a natural? Well, neither would be better for a natural. Like natural, unnatural, it's not really going to matter, like rep ranges. It's not too light if you're progressing. I mean, you can't push every set to the limit forever. You're going to feel a little bit beat up. So most of my clients on the non-primary lifts will use like 8-8 max, 10-10 max, 12-12 max, where we're just doing one set per exercise, max safe reps. That's a good starting point. If you want to do 8 max, 10 max, you can do that. There's a million ways to slice it and dice it as long as you are enjoying it. With a safety, will a safety squat bar be easier? I think in general, when your arms are more forward, it allows you to move your torso back a little bit to kind of counterbalance. And I think there's going to be a tendency to be less stress on your lower back. Like by moving it forward, you would think you're moving your weight forward, but I think it allows you to kind of counterbalance a little bit. That's the way it feels to me. What should I do about asymmetry? My left tricep is stronger than right. You know what? I'm going to tell you, any of you guys, I get this question often. That's 100% normal and 100% nothing you can do. Everybody I know has one side a little bit stronger and bigger than the other. I've been like that for 38 years. It's never going to change. You can try to invest all the time you want in all these crazy schemes and ways to fix it. It's never going to change. The difference will become less and less over time as you build size and strength. Like when you start out as a little small banana and your arms are 12 and 12 and a half, it plays with your head. When they're 17 and a half, which are mine, or 17.25 and 17.75 or whatever, depending on how flubbalicious I am, right? The stronger you get, the bigger you get, the less the difference is between. Does that make sense? Big Johnny Darko. Let's say I need 2,600 on a bulk and want to have some fun. Yeah, but then you're putting yourself towards maintenance, man. You got some long and hard. What would I do? I'm going to be above the rest of the week, and I'm just going to have the fun day. Like, look, here's a law of health and fitness. If you do abuse, you got to pay the price. My only suggestion is, like, if you abuse, don't take that the wrong way when I say abuse, but if you go way over on one day, something's got to give. That's just the law. You could go bulk at 2,600 6 days a week and go way over 1 day a week. And then maybe you gain 10 pounds in 3 months. You have a little bit more rapid bulk, but you're going to have to cut more frequently. The more days you add in where you're a fat ass, and I say this politely, John, I don't know you personally. The more days you add in where you go full fat ass, the more days during that year where you're going to have to pull back and go not fat ass. That's the law. That's the rule. Every day you go blubbletard, right? Every day you go blubbalicious. Every day you go chubby bubby. Every day you go full-blown alcoholic. You're going to need an equal and opposite day to pull back on. That's just the way it is. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you, if you pull back on your bulking days to accommodate your blubby chubby days, you're just going to cut muscle down. So I can't make that decision for you. If you do a blubby chubby day once a month, that's fine. You're not going to gain that much fat anyway. But if you're doing it once a week where you're doing like pizza night, you probably still won't see that much of a difference. You're probably not going to see that much of a difference, but don't cut back your regular days. Dealing with rotator cuff injury, and it hurts the shoulder when doing any pushing. Not able to come all the way down. Just do what the physio says. That's out of my pay grade. Like, when it comes to specific injuries, I'm not going to pretend I'm like injury X, right? I said that instead of athlete X so I could trick you guys. Pretty tricky, right? Just do what the physio says. I'm not going to say the physio is right or wrong. All I know is when you got an injury, you can only do what you can do, right? Carlton, good morning, Carlton. Carlton's a client of mine. One of the craziest looking old school guys I've seen was Eugene Sandow. It's funny what those guys could accomplish without all these fancy, modern science, right? Any plans to re-update? Yeah, I want to re-update, everything, because it's not like the old programs are bad, but as you evolve as a coach, you change things, you upgrade things a little bit. You learn more, you like exercises, you see that certain exercises are better choices. So yeah, that's on the schedule for this year. Also, do you change anything when training male to female? Females can tend to handle snappier rest between sets, and they tend to handle volume a little bit better. So sometimes, like if I give my wife the same program I'm doing, she'll be done in like 22 and a half minutes, and I'll be on like set 3, right? So depending on the female, you might need more volume. Big Sam, if in your 20s and healthy, is there any use to using knee elbow wraps? Elbow wraps, no. Wrist wraps, if you get strong, they can, provide support. People that say wrist wraps and things like that are cheating are idiots. Feel free to quote me and blast it all over the internet. They're idiots. Like cheating what? Protecting your joints? Providing joint support? That's cheating. It's not going to change your max. It's I bench the same with or without wrist wraps. It's just how much punishment do I want? I don't always wear wrist wraps. You know what? I squat the same with or without knee wraps. Sorry to tell you. Might have been a 5-pound difference. I find knee wraps, I just came off a knee injury, a severe knee injury for 8 months. And I hadn't been using knee wraps for a long time. That's not the cause of the knee injuries. But when I came back, the use of knee wraps allowed me to recover faster from the knee injury, noticeably faster. That support on my right knee, my bad knee, was game-changing for my injury. Game-changing. I didn't expect it to be. I thought I knew everything when it came to lifting. I never had a bad knee injury before. And I will tell you, using knee wraps during that time, that support was game-changing. Abso-fucking-lutely game-changing. Big Sam. Thoughts on doing shruggies, leaning on an incline bench? Yeah, you can give those a try. I have no issue. See if you like them. Kill Bill. The only issue is getting into place, really. Sometimes on really tough higher rep sets of squats, man, those are anything higher rep on squats is inherently tough. So I'm just saying that. Near the last few reps, I said, yeah, absolutely. Always service hard work. Hard work is the goal, not rest between reps. We are trying to focus on hard training, not cheating. Anything that facilitates harder training is to be cherished and lifted up. Absolutely, I do. Catch yourself. Your cardiovascular system is worn out. Hit the muscle while it's down. Go deep on squats. Absolutely. It's not work capacity. Squats never get easier over the years. They never do, my friend. Excuse my crudeness here, but you want to go balls deep. You want to do what you can to crush. Make that set hard. Big Chris Jackson. I've been deadlifting conventional since I started. Would a lower back injury be worth switching to sumo? Well, Chris, one of the issues with sumo is that people tend to pull it with their hips too high and try to pull it like a conventional. So sumo can be worth it, but you got to understand you want to get your hips as low as you can, your torso as upright as you can, and you want to kind of try to pull straight up. My best advice for you would be to try sumo and hex bar. Or you could do rack pulls, block pulls 3, 4, 5 inches off the ground. All of those are better on the lower back. Dumbbells and donuts. Versus came in today. Good day. Worried that in a couple weeks I'm going to be too massive. Use them on every pulling exercise and enjoy the benefits. I got you guys are, I'm just going to take a moment here. You guys know I'm in my new office. And across, I have a window here. And this is a townhouse. We're just temporarily staying in a townhouse while we are waiting to move into our new house. There's a cat on the 3rd floor. There's a townhouse behind me, like, I don't know, 75 yards that way. There's a 3rd floor, and there's a big fluffy cat just staring at me this whole time. And I think it's got a problem with me. All right. Sam, I messaged you previously, struggling to bench 225 for 3. I broke that and did 5. Good. But the next week I suddenly got 8. Brilliant. How? I have no idea, man. That's the mystery of lifting. That's like you can talk to the same woman or man, whatever your thing is. We ain't going to judge you here. Right? You can talk to the same woman, and then one day, like, she's super happy to see you. Or you can be married. Like, any married guy knows how this goes. Like, your wife can completely ignore you, and then one day she treats you like you're this newfound gem. Same with lifting, man. Don't overthink it, but a rep in hand is a rep in hand. Just cherish it. How bad is drinking 2 to 4 beers? Look, I'm not here to be your dad, but 2 to 4 beers, 7 days a week, you need to chill. I'm just saying this man to man. You need to chill. That stuff's going to impact you more than you think. That's don't do it. Just don't do it. Like, I love beer. I accidentally had 3 last night. Me and my wife do movie night. Still doing my cut, don't worry. But I love beer, but 7 days a week, that's just not the way to live, my friend. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. You can do with it what you want. It's going to impact you in ways you don't realize. Big Troy, client of mine. Hey, big boss, I retire in 8 years, only 8. Right. When I do, I would love to get into coaching, but we'll be nearly 60. No, not too late at all. One of the things I'm going to be doing is trying to help equip coaches. I'm not going to help you start your own business. Not you, Troy, but in general. But I want to equip coaches to train better. Programming, form, because those are areas that really lack when it comes to, coaching. Not too late at all, Troy. There is a whole world of people out there that want to get in shape that are 60, 55. You are a freak, Troy. You need to take care of your body. What I would say to you, Troy, as someone that's known you for a while, you train like a freak already. It's in your best interest to stay lean, stay healthy, and take care of your body. Because you could be the 60-year-old that's ripped with good muscle, that sexy beard. Troy is on my Instagram, and people absolutely love him when I post his stuff, his training stuff. Not too late at all, man. There's a whole, like, you go for the 55 to 70-year-old niche. Those men are just like every other man. They just want to be the best they can with what they got. They need help. So age is never too old. There's a market for people at every age. I reach the people I reach. People, in YouTube, you sometimes get drive-bys like, your views aren't as good as his views. You're right, like my little voice. You're good. Your views aren't as good as his. So what? I got this brilliant thing, this brilliant community, all of you, who I absolutely am thankful for. I'm thankful one person watches me. I'm thankful I have something in life to contribute to help other people. I'm thankful I found what that is. But you know what? Not every person is for everyone. That's for certain. I'm not so egotistical that I think I'm for everyone. I know I'm a niche, right? I know not everybody wants to do what I do or do what I teach. People are like, so-and-so don't like overhead press. I do. That's my system. Do my system, do their system. There's room for everybody. But when it comes to training, there's plenty of room, man. Men in their 60s, let's be real. These guys are in the last 20%. They want to make every day count. So there's plenty of room, man. Big Daniel White, what are your favorite desserts? Ready? Cheesecake, ice cream, cheesecake, ice cream, and cheesecake. Kill Bill Gates. After how many weeks of not progressing? I don't change anything, man. If you're not progressing, it's usually your diet or your mental drive. Or it's just slowing down. Like, it took me like 10 years to go from a 315 to a 380 bench. It's going to slow. You don't really need to change anything. You don't need to dial down the weight and rebuild and overthink. Most people lack progress either from mental drive, or they're just not attacking as hard as they think they are, or their diet sucks. You don't need to rebuild. You don't need to tear down anything. You just need to stay on the path, remain consistent, and you'll be fine. Eric, the beard of redness. How would you count deal with non-lifting activity towards your weekly? I don't really. Like, that's a fixed, okay? Non-lifting activity is a fixed variable, usually, unless you have a really random day where you go out and do a 20K hike, 20K step hike. Then you might need to build in an extra recovery day or two. But for fixed activities, you can't change them. You can toss them out if you want, but is that good for health? No. So what you have to do is you have to maximize sleep, you have to maximize nutrition, and if you need to adjust anything on the training side of things to accommodate for other activities, go right ahead. Does that make sense? Hey, big, hairy, ugly dude. I hit 195 by 1 on the stay. That's a big number. I was going to read that as bench at first. Nice work. Also, if I'm a little fluffy, would it be better to do 10-pound bulk than... if you're a little bit... If you admit, right? If you admit, like, I'm a little bit chubbly bubbly, I'd probably do a 10-pound cut and then go down, up, down, up. I'd start with the down first. Unless it's a season in your life where you don't really want to do a cut. You want to have fun, you got vacation coming up or whatever. Stan, please make a remastered version of your video 5 power building philosophy. I will look at it. I will look at it. I don't even remember the video. Can anybody post the link or send it to me? I got to look at it. I made so many videos over the years. So like some days you wake up and you just blast. It's one of the best videos you made. Thanks. I'm going to go take a look at it again. I completely forgot about it. How much do genetics play when it comes to calories and calories? This is a really good question. And I'm going to tell you what we were talking about on Team Massive earlier. There is a wide, like, it's not simple math. Okay. It's not simple math. I'm just being honest with you from what I see in coaching. It's not simple math. It is for most people. It is for many people. But there are many people that cutting and bulking is not simple math. They almost seem to be set point stubborn, like it's harder to move them off their set point. I have a client right now, Al, who can't gain weight on 5,000 calories. I have a similar client that walks about the same steps, has the same physical demands in his job, and is gaining weight on 2,600 calories. About the same weight, about the same age. How do you figure that stuff out? You think I want to get on here and be like, scientifically, the reasons are... All you can do is deal with the variables that... Like, do you know how much it messes with your head? When you have, as a coach, when you have a client that can't gain weight on 5,000, and then you have an equal client about the same age, same steps, same activity that's gaining weight on 2,600. Like, there are some physiological oddities when it comes to calories in, calories out that I'm not saying it's not calories in, calories out. I'm saying there are some things I cannot explain. I have a client right now cutting that was one of these guys that needed to eat all day long to have a prayer gain in weight. And he's needing to cut, like he's 47, 4,800. I think he's cutting at like 18, 1,900 because he's got to go so low just to lose a pound a month or a week. So I'm not saying that this is the norm. It's not. But there are some really weird variables out there that can't be explained by just simple calories in, calories out. And I'll tell you what, you can smell somebody that doesn't coach people in the real world. And I'm not being I'm not attacking them. I'm not putting them down. I'm not elevating myself. But you can tell when someone has no personal experience with real people in the real world because they are unaware of these really strange things. Why do most programs for decades consist of 3 to 4 sets? I think it's just a natural evolving of convenience and time in gym, the way I evolve my programs. And like, I don't know about you guys, but I tend to get like some exercises I get bored when I do 4 or 5 sets. I think 3 is kind of the sweet spot. Not for everybody at all times. But honestly, I think it's been pragmatically formed out of average time in gym and convention and so on and so forth. Not really. I'm not saying it's a bad exercise, exertion, but I just don't think it's the greatest for hypertrophy. I really, really don't. I've done it. I've done my share of exercers. Come here, buddy. I just don't think it's the best. He's roaming around. I'd also throw Pitch Black in there. Yeah, it's a good movie as well. Pitch Black's an underrated movie. Definitely in the whatever you want to do, top 20, maybe even top 10. It's really underrated. I think the Riddick trilogy is underrated. I really enjoy the Riddick trilogy. I'd rather watch that than Star Wars. Don't hate. Arun, your stand on deload. Arun, the best thing I can say is go over to the main page of my video or my channel and search deload. I have many videos on this. The long and short of it is I don't like to schedule in arbitrary deloads like every 8, 10, 12, 14 weeks, whatever, because life, like there's going to be a lot of periods in your year that you're going to have to take time away from the gym. Vacation, your friend's wedding, you're sick, your girlfriend cheats on you and give you herpes, right? You're moving, holidays, birthday. You're going to have a lot of days that you're going to need to take away from training. So I like to structure my time foundationally away from the gym in those periods. And then when you feel physically beat up or mentally beat up, stress doesn't have to be in the gym, take an extra day off of work or an extra day away from the gym. And then from there, I like to keep deloads intuitive when I feel I need a physical and mental break. You bet. Thank you for tuning in. Sandra, how's it going, Sandro? And Aberrant, thank you. I appreciate that. Aberrant tossed $10 my way for Pandorum. Sandra, I'm mid-intermediate. Can I expect bench press plus ones? No. Every 6 try? Yeah. I thought you were going to say every session. Every 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. Like if you had a +1 on, for those of you guys keeping score at home, a +1 is going to add about 5-6 pounds to your bench press max. So if you do like 190 by 5 and you move up to 190 by 6, it's going to add about 5 to 6 pounds to your max, that single rep, your approximate max. We're talking approximates. So every 3rd week would be like adding 85 pounds to your bench over the course of a year. Every 4th would be like 50. I think every 4th would be reasonable. LV. I might have to start my basic training over the weekend starting in September. How should I schedule training? You probably need some recovery time. So maybe Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or maybe 3 days straight during the week if you can handle it. Big, hairy, ugly dude. What's a good variation to add for hammies if I already do RDLs, conventional deadlifts. The other options you can do are glute ham raise on a back extension. So you get on a back extension machine and you go down. When you come up, you teeter up on your knees and you're doing like a hamstring curl. If you have access to a back extension station, that's a good choice. You can also do a wide stance, heels elevated, good morning, where you're really getting some hamstring stretch, but that's kind of like a RDL. The glute ham raise on a back extension gets my top nod. A soy sauce banana. My girlfriend likes my incredible bulk t-shirt. I have an incredible bulk shirt at superlivingtoday.com. So if you guys are curious just to see it, you can head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, search bulk, B-U-L-K, and you can find it. All right, where was we? Christos, client of mine, I caught him live. Thank you. Let's go. I take your mantra of doing what you don't want to do to heart. Yesterday's video was great. I appreciate you watching that. Thank you, sir. Thank you. What are your thoughts on 2 working sets per exercise? That's fine. I have a program called Massive Mass, which revolves around that. As long as your weekly volume's reasonable, that's absolutely fine. I kind of like it at times just to do 2 sets per exercise. Dividend King. Yeah, I was weight stable from 2,400. Yeah, isn't it crazy? I slowly increased my calories. Should I allow my back to be a little rounded? Upper back's fine. You can't retract your scapula during a deadlift. It won't stay that way on a deadlift. But lower back, I'd have to see form because usually something's wrong. That client eating 5,000 calories has a tapeworm. Yeah, I'd like to think so, right? Last call for questions, guys. This is the last one. Due to weird schedule, I train every 4 days, but on each training day, I train twice. As long as total weekly, yep. The only thing you want to consider is if you train twice a day, as soon as you're done with the first workout, you want to get in some simple carbs immediately, some water and some sodium, and then probably eat a meal of like 300 to 400 to 500 calories and stay off your butt. Stay off your legs, stand your butt for a couple hours. We caught up, no ham raises in the gym. Do you let your scapula open during RDLs? You want to stay braced, right? You don't really want, if you're rounding down, you're probably going down too far on an RDL. All right, guys, that's it. I appreciate you tuning in. We are done. 2 hours and 23 minutes. Before you go, I just want to say thank you for your support. It means everything to me to be able to do this for a living, to be able to coach for a living. I can't thank you guys enough for your support. So please support the little guy, the little content creator. Head over to Superliving Today, superlivingtoday.com. Just check out my website. Check out the supplements. I got really good protein and really good creatine. Team Massive Iron is an amazing group. Please consider joining. Please follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. If you have training questions, you can hit me up at any time. And I think we got a couple more in here before we go. Thoughts on jogging the day after leg day? Yep, that's fine. Go for it. I like to run after leg day, like immediately. That's okay. Good calorie deficit for 4 weeks mini cut. Start at 1,800 calories and go deep, my friend. Just go deep. 1,800 to 2,000. How to not let overthinking related to workout not affect a workout. Have a plan. Conquer the plan. Get out. If you work hard and you're chasing progression, that's all you need. Thanks and thanks. All right, sexy people. We are out of here.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.
What do you think, buddy boy? What do you think? Should we go get a protein bar? Get really crazy on a Friday? And take you outside? I think it'd stop raining. I know. All right. See you guys.